Hello and welcome to my comic book reviews. This week a bit different. We're kicking it off with my pick of the week, which is Batman issue 13. Issue 14. The reason that I'm doing this is, since I've been able to edit my videos, I've kind of put the pick of the week at the end, because it's a nice way to end the video on a positive note. But before then, I used to I'd review the books in the order that I'd read them. And so I would give my pick of the week wherever it was in the books I'd read. And I'm going to experiment going back to that way. It might not be permanent, at the moment, with this whole way now I can edit my videos. I'm just, going to try different things out. Some may work, some may not. But this is one of those things I'm trying. So we kick it off today with the pick of the week, Batman, issue 14. This is the book I was most anticipating this week, and was also the first book I read, and it was just brilliant. Previously, in the last issue, we saw Joker kidnap Alfred, begging the question, does he know Bruce's secret identity? So Batman was also, as Alfred was being kidnapped, Batman was caught in a trap. We kick this issue off with Batman still caught in the trap, and Joker fills it with this liquid that was in this vat when he was first turned into the Joker. And Batman manages to escape, and he gets home and finds Alfred's not there. He then finds this cassette tape of Joker torturing Alfred, and Batman is really worried. He manages to put together the clues that Commissioner Gordon is going to be the next target, and it's really cool how Batman figures that out, which I won't spoil. Then he has to get to Commissioner Gordon to save him, and then later on he has a meeting with Nightwing, and he tells Nightwing how Joker has Alfred, and Joker wants to tell all the others, and they can all go and get Joker, but Batman's like, no, I don't want him to know, that's what he wants. It'll rattle them, so he gives Nightwing a job to do while he goes to confront the Joker, because Joker's reenacting a lot of his original crimes. And so Batman sort of has solved where he will be next, and he goes to confront the Joker, and that's sort of where our issue ends with that, with a couple of big revelations at the end. We also have a backup story, which is basically Joker going and asking Penguin for a favour, which all ties into some party he's going to throw, which he mentions here, which is the whole reason he says he's kidnapped Alfred, because he needs the best butler, because he's going to throw this big party. So yeah, really brilliant book. You're on the edge of your seat the whole time. I've read comic books since I was a kid, and in that time I've read villains that are cool. I've read villains that I absolutely hated and wanted to see them get their comeuppance. I've read villains that did nothing for me, villains that I sympathised with. Every man of a villain. But in all my time reading comics, I've never read a villain as terrifying or as creepy as this version of the Joker. Snyder and Capullo are just a fantastic team, because the art and how Joker looks now, which is Capullo, is just really terrifying, but then at the same time the things he's doing and is totally equally terrifying. So this book is just fantastic. It is a bit of a slice of comic book perfection, and like I said, it's one of the books I was most anticipating, and it didn't let me down, and it delivered a great book. As always, like I mentioned, the art is fantastic. There was a couple of things that I thought, and questions that I raised from this book. The first was, has Joker ever had like an origin story? Because the way they have Joker's origin in here, they sort of suggest that he was thrown into that vat of chemicals, and that's why his skin's pale and his hair's green. Which reminded me very much of the 1989 Batman movie by Tim Burton. Because that's how Joker becomes the Joker in that film. He falls in them chemicals. And I was just wondering, had this ever appeared in the comic before then? Had there ever been a definitive origin for Joker, or is this the first time? Because I really liked that. I liked that whole idea. Because in the Batman movie, he was so vain that, that would flip somebody who's vain over that edge, wouldn't it? That they've lost the thing. The kind of same thing, similar thing with Dr. Doom back in the day, that he was scarred and had to put on the armour. The other thing that I sort of wondered reading this book was that, you know, they mentioned these crimes that Joker did when he first met Batman, and I'm wondering, were those crimes actually like stories in the Batman book? It'd be interesting going back and finding that out. But all in all, this is just a really good book. You don't need, you know, people talk so much these days about jumping on points. This book is so well written, you could buy this book having never read Batman and you would follow it. It's a really great book and definitely worth checking out. It's my pick of the week, so it gets a definite thumbs up. Next up we have Saga, Chapter 7. This was another one of the books I was really anticipating, and I'm so glad it is back. This book has just been fantastic since the start, and they continue the excellence here. Vaughn is just genius. Some of the things he uses in his writing to push the story on are just fantastic. Also, the art by Fiona Staples. She gets so much expression into her characters. It's just a joy to look at. As always, we have our like not safe at work, oh my god moment in the book, but it's just a great book. The last issue, you may remember, which was about 2 or 3 months ago now, ended with the in-laws, Marco's parents, Alana's in-laws, arriving on their ship, sort of taking the story once again in a different direction. This pretty much the whole issue deals with those characters. We don't see much of the secondary characters. It's Alana and Marco with their in-laws. Marco goes off to save Isabel, who his mum zapped somewhere. So his mum follows him because she's not sure he can, you know, find the place. This awkwardly leaves Alana in a bath towel with her father-in-law. So she gets a bit nervous because, you know, their races are at war. You know, they're like really shocked that their son has shacked up with this enemy of their race. So she's sort of a bit nervous and protective of her child. So she gets the ship to tie her father-in-law up. Meanwhile, Marco and his mom are having a discussion as they're on this planet trying to look for Isabel, but the planet is desolated. You know, something's destroyed it all, and they do get to find what it is, and it's that oh my god, not safe at work moment I spoke about earlier. You know, meanwhile on the ship, Alana is aware that Marco's dad can't use any magic unless he reveals a secret. And this is a great plot device for him to reveal something that's going to be major in the coming book, and that's where the book kind of ends with him being able to do his magic, and you know what happens after that is where the book ends. As always, a great issue. Every time I read this book, I get totally enveloped in this world. You know, one way I've always thought of describing it is like Romeo and Juliet in space, and you know, in many ways it is like that, but that probably doesn't do it enough justice. You've got these fantastical fantasy elements to this sci-fi story that is grounded by this relationship between our two protagonists. As always, the art complements it perfectly and really gets in a lot of expression into the characters, so you can feel what they're feeling just from looking at the book. Vaughn excels himself in this issue. The whole thing of splitting the characters up so that like Marco's with his mom and that Alana's with her father-in-law, so that it's a bit more intimate, and that was really great. Also, the whole plot device hub that he can't use his magic without revealing a secret allows the father to reveal this big secret that he's told nobody yet, that I don't think even his wife knows yet. So, and that's not something you would usually have be revealed, but this is a fantastic device for letting that come out and not feel like forced. It felt really natural how it came out, and it's just a fantastic book all round. Really recommend. They've just brought out the trade, well, about a month ago they brought out the trade of the first 6 issues. It's well worth your money checking that one out, because this is just a brilliant book, and when they look back on 2012, this is going to be one of the books they're going to say was one of the great books that was born in 2012, and a definite easy thumbs up from me. So next up is All New X-Men issue number 1, one of the books in the new range of Marvel Now titles. And initially I wasn't going to buy this book. It was it's a twice a month book, so I was going to steer clear of it, even though I was intrigued by the premise. Then I read Avengers vs X-Men, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to pick this book up. I'm really intrigued what's going to happen next. And then I was like, I read a 5-page preview. I thought, well, why is that character bringing him to the future? It makes no sense. I'm not going to buy this book. And then I read AVX Consequences, and I loved what they're doing with Cyclops' character. And I thought, yeah, I really want to see what happens in this book now. So I picked it up, as you obviously can tell. And the story kicks off with Beast, and he's going through yet another stage of his mutation. And he doesn't know if his brain and his heart can take going through another mutation. So he's like really thinking this could be it. You know, this could kill me. Meanwhile, Cyclops and his group are going around rescuing mutants in in a way where they can blow as much stuff up as possible and get attention. The school, Kitty Pryde's worried that this is going to bring people and attention onto the school and make life difficult for them. Storm, Iceman, Beast, Kitty, they all discuss what they should do, but they know if they go up against Cyclops, this could start a mutant civil war. So Iceman makes this half-hand remark of if the young Scott could see the current Scott, he'd slap him and kick his ass. And like one character replies, "You're right," and it propels that character then to go back in time and to get the X-Men. I enjoyed this book. It didn't blow me away. There were other books this week that I thought were better than this, but what I was left with when I read it was I was really intrigued, and I want to see what happens next. And that is how a book should leave. You should be wanting more, and that's what this book left me with. I was disappointed that the last 5 pages were the preview, so I essentially knew when I come to that bit, I knew how the book was going to end, and that was disappointing. What I did think was good though was how the scene with them at the end is actually from issue 8 of X-Men, of the original run on the X-Men, so it's actually from an actual comic. So I really like that. That they've thrown it in there, so you definitively know, well, they've been through this so far, but they've not been through all of this yet. So that's good. I'm really intrigued where the series is going to go. I know in February they're bringing out Uncanny X-Men, which is going to follow Cyclops' team. So if you've got Wolverine in the X-Men, that's going to follow the school. And you've got Uncanny X-Men that's going to follow Cyclops' team. What's going to happen in All New X-Men? Are we going to go back in time with our young team and follow them, as maybe they change the past with their knowledge of the future? It'd be very, very interesting what happens in this book going forward. And I think I'm definitely on board for the short term, because I am curious to see where it goes. Whether I keep picking it up is open to debate, but I enjoyed the first issue. I thought the art was good. Again, nothing about this book blew me away, but I was left happy, and I was left wanting more. So yeah, I would give this book a thumbs up. A little side note, that's something that I found kind of funny, and maybe it's just me, but I liked in this book the Iceman character of the modern day X-Men. He was a bit of a hothead. So you've got this guy who's made of ice, who's a hothead. I just find that funny. But anyway, yeah, this book was a fun, good book, good start to the series, and I'd give it a thumbs up. So yeah, that's All New X-Men. Next up, we have issue 14 of Batgirl, and it's a crossover with the Death of the Family story arc, as Barbara comes face to face with the man who paralysed her, the Joker. Last issue, Barbara's mother was kidnapped, and now Barbara gets a mysterious phone call, and she presumes it's the Joker, and he's sort of telling her what to do. The 3 clowns that abducted her mother, they show up, and she has to fight them off. And then she has to go and confront the Joker. And at the end, there's this a couple of twists to the tale. The person who's on the phone is not who she thought it was, and also what Joker wants from her is not what she thought he wants. And to answer the question in Batman, I don't think I mentioned it earlier. It was left that Batman wasn't sure whether Joker knew his secret identity or not. But at the end of the issue, we get a definitive answer. In this, it's like early on, we know that Joker knows who Batgirl is. He must know all their secret identities now, because he certainly knows Batgirl's. It's a really good issue. Barbara kicks a load of ass in this issue. I've loved this book since issue 1. Batgirl was never a book I was interested in the past, but Gail Simone has done such a great job on this book. She's written such a great book. You know, it started off in the early issues. You had Barbara trying to regain her confidence. She'd only been Batgirl a year when she'd been paralysed. Now she's out of, after 3 years, she's out of the wheelchair. She's walking again, and she's still trying to get her confidence back as Batgirl. And as the series has gone on, she's become more confident, more sure of herself. And I just love the character that Gail Simone is creating here and is making. This issue, you know, Barbara faces the hardest thing yet, the guy who put her in the wheelchair. As always, the art is good. Joker in here probably doesn't look as creepy as he does in Batman with Capullo's art, but he's pretty damn close. Just a great all-round issue, and if you're enjoying like Batman and the death of the family thing, this is a well worth issue to pick up to see just how disturbed the Joker can be. An easy and definite thumbs up for me. Just totally loving this series. So next up, it's Spider-Man issue 697, getting ever closer to the big 700. And this was a bit of a strange one this week, because usually Spider-Man's one of the books my comic shop gets a lot of, and they have a lot left. But this issue was sold out. I had to find another comic shop and go there and trek over there to get it, you know. So yeah, that was a bit of a shock, because like this is a book that never usually sells out. And I'm not saying it doesn't sell a lot, it does, but they always usually order a lot in. So I was a bit surprised, and I hope that ain't going to be like a sign of things as we count down to 700. If it's going to be really difficult to get, I hope not. But anywho, this issue, really enjoyed this issue. Peter and Max are still on the run from the two hobgoblins, who are after to reclaim the Goblin Key. They managed to find Osborn's pad, where they can get into with the Goblin Key, and they're in there while the goblins are trying to get in, and they have to come up with some kind of plan. But there's still all those sensors all over New York that are messing with Spider-Man's spider sense. So how is he going to get out of this one? A really great story. There's loads of little side scenes that are like building things up for future issues that I really liked. Also, I really liked the whole resolution of this story with the goblins. It's not how you would expect it to happen, but I really liked it. I like how they finished it up. And the next issue, all I have to say is this picture for the next issue. That is Dr. Octopus, and you can see what he's saying. It all falls apart. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Dan Slott comes up with in future issues. This issue was a great deal of fun before we get into the main meat of potatoes of what's going to happen to Peter. I'm really enjoying this title. I have enjoyed Slott's run. I'm definitely going to pick up the first issue of Superior Spider-Man in January. I'm not completely sure about Peter not being Spider-Man. I don't know if I want to see that, but I'll give it a go. I still think it's good. There's going to be a major twist, and that Peter's identity comes out, so he retires as Spider-Man, and then a new Spider-Man shows up, and I reckon it's going to be Peter, but he's going to wear a slightly different outfit, and he's going to behave differently, so people don't think he's Spider-Man no more. That's my prediction, but I could be wrong. But all in all, though, this was a really good issue, well worth checking out, and I give it a thumbs up. Another one of the new Marvel Now titles, FantasticFour issue 1, and this was a fantastic book. When I read the initial premise for what Matt Fraction was going to do on this book, how the Fantastic Four were going to travel through time and space, I thought, yeah, that's a Fantastic Four kind of thing to do, but why would they take their kids with them through time and space? I don't get it. Yeah, they wouldn't leave them behind, but there's got to be a reason for it, and the reason that he comes up with in this issue is brilliant. We kick off the story. I haven't shown you many pages this week because the light here isn't too good, so I don't know how well you can see, but that's the first page, and in the corner it says 1 year from now. And as you can see, Ben Grimm is no longer the Thing. and it looks like they're getting bombarded by cosmic rays again. We then jump to modern day. Franklin's having a nightmare, but his parents, they're not there. They're trapped inside the mouth of a dinosaur back millennia ago. They managed to get out of that problem, but Reed's arm has been injured and the flesh has been ripped, and that's not something that should happen because he usually turns to rubber. So it's like a real mystery why that happened. So Reed sort of investigates what's happening, and he finds that the very cosmic rays that gave them their powers are now degrading, and they're not only going to lose their powers, but it's going to kill them as well. And it will happen to all of them over the next year, and they'll die. While he's consulting Herbie's robot, like, is there any known cure for this? And Herbie's like, not in the known universe. And that gives Reed the idea, then we'll go beyond the known universe. And that's why he's going to go on this thing. However, he doesn't tell the other members of the Fantastic Four what's happening. He just sort of sells them on this idea that we're going to travel through space. It's a really, really good book. It gets the characters spot on. Everything, it just felt totally authentic Fantastic Four, and I just really love this book. The art by Mark Bagley is great, and he gets the thing spot on, which I always think when you draw the Fantastic Four, if you can get the thing right, you can draw the Fantastic Four. If you get the thing wrong, goodbye. But yeah, I just love this book. It was just a joy to read. Like I say, it left me wanting more after the end. I really want to see what happens next, and I'm definitely on board this book for the long haul, and it's another one that's well worth checking out. And so far, I'm thinking, you know, for me personally, this whole Marvel Now initiative has been a great success, because there's like 2 books already with this one and with X-Men, or 3 if you count Uncanny Avengers as well, that I'm going to be picking up regularly. So, you know, I've added 3 Marvel titles to my collection, so it's a really been successful, a really successful thing so far for Marvel, and you know, I look forward to seeing what goes on in this in future issues. So yeah, a definite thumbs up. So next up we have HeMan Masters of the Universe issue 4, and you know, we've met Beastman, we've met Trapjaw, we've met Merman. This issue, HeMan and Teela come up against Evil Lynn, and she's got Man-at-Arms, Teela's father, under some kind of spell, and he doesn't remember who he is, though he recognises Teela. And you know, she captures HeMan, Adam and Teela, and Man-at-Arms goes to them because he recognises Teela. She seems familiar, and it's a really good, again, a really good issue. Skeletor, meanwhile, he's getting frustrated. Why can't his henchmen just kill him? Why do they have to like prolong it? And he's talking to this disembodied head, which we haven't seen before, and we don't know who it is. And then you know, so that gives us more questions. What's going on here? Well, meanwhile, Evil Lynn's going to have Adam and Teela put to death, which doesn't turn out as, you know, you'd expect. I'm hoping next issue we're going to get HeMan. I'm really got this fear that we're going to end up halfway through issue 6, the last issue, and we're going to get HeMan, and we're going to get him for half a comic. Nah, I want to see him for the whole last couple of books. So, but apart from that, that's my only real gripe with this book. I like the art. I thought the art was good. The story I'm really enjoying, and I'm really, you know, as we get answers, they just give us more questions, and it's been really an enjoyable book, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this is going to finish out. And yeah, Keith Giffen, he had a tough job to do, because he took over from James Robertson, who drafted out the story, and he kept the boat sailing, and he's done a good job. And I enjoyed this issue, and I look forward to next issue. You know, well worth checking out if you're a HeMan fan. If you're not, I don't think it's a comic you'll really need to go out your way to get. If you're not, but if you are a HeMan fan, definite a must buy, and I give it a thumbs up. So next up we have Frankenstein, Agent of S.H.A.D.E, issue 14, and it continues the Rot World, as you can see, Rot World Secrets of the Dead storyline. Frank and Valcoro have to get this machine called the Soul Grinder, but Victor hid the machine in these 3 monsters. So they have to go and fight these 3 monsters one at a time. So they get through the first 2 pretty straightforward. The relationship between Valcoro and Frank is really good. Frank's this kind of like quiet character who just goes, while Valkoro is this really talkative guy. So like their relationship is really good throughout this book. And then they go and they have to fight the third monster. A bit of tragedy happens to the team, and then you have our cliffhanger. And it was another really good book. The art, as always, by Ponticelli was brilliant. Just really works well for this book. The imagining of the monsters was brilliant and scary, and I'm just really enjoyed this book. And I'm really heartbroken it's going to finish in 2 issues, but I think hopefully it's going to go out with a bit of a bang. But I'd gotta think that this whole soul grinder thing is going to tie into the main Rotworld arc with Swamp Thing and Animal Man. But yeah, this book as always was good. I liked the teams. I haven't really shown much art today because the light here isn't too well, but I'm going to try with this one because I just really like, you know, the bizarre monsters that he creates. Just brilliant. But yeah, well worth checking out. If you like in Rotworld and maybe you want a little bit of extra Rotworld, this is well worth picking up. Really sad to see it go, but it's still a book that I've really enjoyed, and I give this issue a thumbs up as I give all the others. Next up we have Superboy, and I originally was reading this book when the New 52 began, but then I dropped it. Mainly because I couldn't get a handle on what his powers were supposed to be, and it was tying in too much to Teen Titans, and that was a book I didn't want to buy. But it seemed a lot of the stories carried on in Teen Titans, so you had to buy Teen Titans, and then the story would come back here, and I didn't really like that, because that was, like I said, wasn't a book I wanted to buy. None of the characters that I was interested are in the Teen Titans anymore, so that wasn't a book I wanted to buy. So anywho, the reason I picked this issue up was, as you can see the banner at the top, Hell on Earth. It's a crossover story with Superman, Superboy and Supergirl, and I read the first part in last month's issue of Superman, and I really enjoyed that, so I thought, you know, I'm going to pick this one up. It's this character here who's supposed to be called Hal. He finds Superboy and is amazed to find a Kryptonian clone on Earth, and then he finds that he's part human and part Kryptonian. This fascinates him even more. The Teen Titans try to help their friend, but he just swats them away like, you know, like they're nothing. I enjoyed this issue. I don't think this is a book I'm going to pick up after this series is finished, after this Hell on Earth crossover is finished. But this issue was enjoyable. I'm really intrigued. Who is Hal? Like my whole thing, if you look at his chest, he's got like the S symbol backwards. His skin is white, his hair is black. I'm wondering if this is like the New 52 version of Bizarro. If this is going to be him, because and I don't know. See, I haven't been reading the Super books regularly, so he may have been introduced already, and he might not be Bizarro. But it just, to me, it reminded me very much of Bizarro, and it was like, since the New 52, we haven't really had any of Superman's big villains from the past sort of come into it yet. So this would be one of the first. So I'm just wondering about that. I'm just wondering, could this be Bizarro? Time would tell. But I enjoyed this issue. It done a good job of bringing you up to speed on Superboy and what's been happening to him, and at the same time pushed the story on in this Hell on Earth storyline of who this guy is, who is Hal, you know. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I'd give it a thumbs up, and I'm definitely going to get the rest of the books in this crossover, which I'm enjoying. But I don't think I'll be picking this book up month to month. I don't think I'll pick this book every month. I think once this series is finished, I won't be picking up Superboy again. But that's not saying anything bad about it. This was a good issue, and I enjoyed it. And like I say, thumbs up. And now we come to my final review for God of Thunder issue 1, another book out in the new Marvel Now range of titles. And this book ran very close to being my pick of the week. It's just an absolutely gorgeous book. The art is brilliant. I'd never heard of this artist before, but it had this real mythical quality, this real, you know, old age, classical kind of quality to it, which just really suits the character of Thor. Jason Aaron knocks it out of the park. Fantastic story. I'm a big fan of Jason Aaron's, but I was concerned how he was going to fit in with a character like Thor, because, you know, usually Jason Aaron's books, they're a bit wacky, they have that bit of humour in there. So I was like, Thor's not that kind of character, though you can do a bit of humour, but not all the time. He's not that type of character. So I was intrigued by how Jason Aaron was going to manage this, but he does a fantastic job. The story is set in the past, the present and the future, and we start off with our chunk from the past, then we move on to the present, and then at the end we have the future, and it moves the story on nicely, but it also, as the story goes on, creates more questions. We start off in the past, in, I think it's Iceland, yeah, the west coast of Iceland, and Thor has just slain this frost giant, and he's enjoying many women and drinking much beer, and this body gets washed up, or these parts of this body gets washed up, and Thor identifies that this guy is a god, and somebody has not just killed this god, but they've butchered him, they've chopped him to pieces. We then jump to the present day, and Thor answers the prayer to this alien world, where they've got no water, and he answers the prayer, and he brings water and everything to the planet, makes it rain, and answers this girl's prayer. He stays there because they have some beer, some ale as they call it, this slime ale, and he stays and drinks and tells tales of Asgard, and he is shocked to discover that this planet doesn't have any gods, but that they had many long ago, but they abandoned them. So he goes to try and find these gods, and he finds where they lived, and they've all been butchered. They've been hanged and butchered by somebody skilled at this. And this is, I think this is the first time we hear of Gore the God Butcher. And then, but Gore has left something behind. He's left somebody to guard, and Thor comes up against this guard dog. And then at the end of the issue, we join Thor's future, and we see him as the last Asgardian. So like, this book was really good, and the end of the book kind of ends on this big cliffhanger as he opens the door and we see what has become of Asgard. I really enjoyed this. Like I say, it was just a gorgeous book to look at. I was really blown away by the art, but the story too. I loved the story. It felt like Thor, while at the same time it had that humour in it that all Jason Aaron books have a little bit of. But at the same time, it still really felt like Thor and was a great representation. And I just really enjoyed this book, and I cannot praise it. Like I say, it ran really close to be my pick of the week, because it was a really good book, and I really enjoyed it. And even though it's a twice a month book, I'm definitely going to get this one every month. I really loved what they did here, and I haven't shown you too much art today, but I'm going to try and show you some from here, because I just think the art is so gorgeous that it deserves to be shared. But I don't know how good the lighting is to sort of get the art across. But yeah, all through this book it is just absolutely gorgeous. This is one of the books this week that is well worth checking out. It's just a really gorgeous book. Even if you're not a Thor fan but you really like good art, just well worth checking out. If you've never read a Thor book before but maybe enjoyed the movie, this is a well worth checking out, because you don't need any background knowledge. This just sets the story off brilliantly, and yeah, I cannot effuse enough about it. I really love this book, and look forward, you know, to future issues. So I give it a definite thumbs up.